Perfect. Here we are. Okay, so we're gonna do a foam roller and flex band workout to use these props in different ways and kind of challenge things a little bit differently. I wanna really focus on mobilizing your hip joints, your back at the beginning, and then we'll kind of build from there. So if you guys would start laying on your backs with your feet up on the roller and find your neutral spine. If you feel like your head is hanging backwards, then you could always add something under your head, like a small towel or a small little thin pillow, to have it so that your eyes are looking straight up towards the ceiling. You want to be pretty neutral. So bend the knees, bring the roller in, and we're just going to start by letting the knees open, push the roller away, and bend and pull it back in. So as you're opening, you're trying to feel the connection softening in and down through the bottom ribs. After a few, you do have to kind of adjust where your feet are on the roller, but you're opening the knees out, pushing the roller away, staying neutral through the pelvis and the rib cage, and pulling back in. And then we'll reverse. So the knees open as you come in, the knees go in towards each other as you press out. And as you do this a few times, we're just trying to find some nice mobility through the spine, through the hips. If your hips are really tight, it's really hard to have full mobility through the spine. The spine is really tight, it's hard to have mobility through the hips. So we kind of have to address both. One more time. And then bend your knees and bring the roller back in. Bring your feet on top of the roller, and then take the band and hook it behind your knee. Cross the band over so that you have the tails of the band coming out your thumb side of your hand, and your elbows can just be bent at your side. And then you're just gonna stir your leg in your hip socket, mobilizing through that leg, trying to find a little bit more mobility. The leg that's on the roller is just kind of resting there. You're working a very subtle amount of hamstring stability to be able to keep the roller from moving around. Check in with your pelvis, make sure you're still neutral, and then reverse the direction of your circle. So by crossing the band over, we have a little bit of resistance in all directions. You are doing a little bit of arm work as well, which is not a bad thing. And just following your breath as you're moving your leg. Last one. And then keep this hold on the band and the leg in the center. Flex your foot as you press your leg out towards straight, and then bend and pull it back in. And you're just flexing so that it smooths out. You connect through the back of the leg, pushing and pulling, and pushing and pulling. And then as you're comfortable, start to straighten the leg towards the ceiling. You don't have to straighten all the way. I do want you to keep neutral though. So you're just opening the leg towards the ceiling as the roller goes away from you. So the legs are both straightening at the same time. They're bending at the same time. They're straightening, or going towards straight at least. Most of us won't straighten all the way. And then if you can, flex your top foot. So you open the calf and the back of the calf, the back of the ankle. Definitely a lot more hamstring stretch when you flex the foot. One more time. And then bring the roller back in, uncross the band, take and cross the band around the back of the other thigh. Holding on to the band, the tail's coming out of the hand, the thumb side of the hand, pushing down into the roller, starting with your one leg circle. So you're trying to not let this whole shape and the pelvis tip. Your pelvis stays still. You're circling the thigh bone in the hip sockets. Nice circular motion. Feeling the back of the shoulders stabilizing the whole time. Nice. And then reverse your circles. Just trying to find some more mobility through the hip joint. Not a big range of motion, but getting a little resistance in all directions. Trying to get those hip flexors to chill out a little bit, not work so hard all the time, so that some of the other muscles, deeper support muscles, can contribute more. And then you're gonna hold the leg in the center, flex the standing leg as you push out, connecting through the back of the leg and the glute, and bending and coming back in. And pressing out and pulling back in. And you can feel free to adjust as necessary, but it should feel like you get a little bit of connecting through the back of the hip. We're trying to open the front of the hip fully. And then you can add the top leg moving towards straight, staying in neutral. So I don't want you to straighten the leg and it to tuck your whole spine under to do so. Try to only go as far as you can. Lengthen in your neutral. Couple more here. Adding in that top ankle flexing. Kind of has that like nervy, tingly stretch pretty often, I'd say. And last two, opening up the legs. And then bringing it back in, uncross the band, and you're gonna take, and you can leave the foam roller there for now, it's not gonna be in your way. You're gonna put the band on the ball of one foot, and again, let's have the tail of the band come out the pinky side of the hand. Bring yourself into your imprint and lift one leg up to tabletop and then the other. So then from here, push out through the leg in the band. If you want, I think it's a little more comfortable to have the arms down here by the sides, which means you have to kind of step your leg over the band so that it's on the right side of your hip, outside of the hip. Yeah, and now as you're pushing and pulling, you're pushing against the leg to press out, trying to keep your imprint. If this is too hard, then you could put your foot on the floor and stay in neutral here. So pushing out, pulling in. Backs of the shoulders and the arms are just working to stabilize, trying to keep the back of the shoulders open. Just do two more. And then step your foot into the band and the other leg can go. Again, you could put your foot down on the floor if it was too hard. Pushing through the leg, you can push through the foot and the ankle as well. Press and bend, connecting into your abdominals. So I want you to start to work towards the idea of the leg attaching way up into the rib cage, because it does through the psoas muscle. So you're trying to feel like you're not letting the ribs pop up off the floor in order to extend the leg. Two more. And last one. And then come all the way back in. You can take the band and just set it down for a moment. Find your foam roller. Mine rolled far away from me. And put the roller underneath the back of the knees. Now we want nothing under our head so that our neck is protected. Lift your hips up and bring your back of your sacrum, your pelvis, onto the roller. So it should feel like you can imprint here and then lift one leg up to tabletop and lift the other leg up to meet it. Once you've got the legs in tabletop, keep connected through the abs, lower one leg towards the floor, pick it back up. As you exhale, lower and lift. And see if you can sink the bottom ribs in, stay really connected. You can just gently hold on to the roller. Yeah, so you're keeping your knees bent and you're just toe tapping down and lifting up. And toe tapping down and lifting up. One more. And then extend the legs towards the ceiling. Split the legs apart into your scissor. Bend the bottom leg, bicycle through to the split. Bend the bottom leg, split. Bend the bottom leg. So there has to be a moment where both legs are straight. Then the bottom leg bends. Both legs straighten. Bottom leg bends. Both legs straighten. and bottom leg bends. As you do a couple more, go on your own timing. It should be in a range of motion that you feel like you can keep your imprint. And then you're gonna take both legs up to the ceiling. So keep your imprint. Both legs are gonna go down on a diagonal, only as low as you can keep your abdominal connection, and then lift back up. And both legs lower down a little bit. And lift back up towards the ceiling. And again, exhale as the legs go down, imprint more, and lift back up. And exhale, imprint, and lift back up. Last one, exhale, imprint a lot, and then lift back up. Bend your legs in, let them collapse a little towards your chest, and then just slowly roll the roller out from underneath you. And you're gonna put your feet on the roller. Adjust anything you need to, and then feet parallel, sits bones distance apart, pressing down into the feet, round the pelvis under, roll the hips up, open across the front of the pelvis. Feel like you're lifting up, you're really trying to open the front of the hips, and just do a little pulse in, 2, 3 of the legs, hold that pulse in, and then try to roll down through the bottom ribs, through the lower back, and back to neutral. And again, tip towards the belly button, open across the front of the hips, press your hips up, little pulse in, and then roll down. It's tempting to push the roller away from you because it's easier that way. So try to feel like you're pulling the roller under you. Roll your hips up, legs stay parallel. Press your hips open, little pulse in, 2, 3, hold it in and roll back down. Nice, Gloria. And last time, tip towards the belly button, roll the front of the hips open, little pulse in, 2, 3, hold it in and roll back down through your spine. Again, grab behind one leg and come up to sitting. I'm gonna lay facing my head towards you just so you can see what I'm doing, but you can lay however you fit on your mat. I want you to hold on to the ends of the roller, and I want you to just reach through one arm. We'll have the legs pretty wide apart. Reach through one arm like you're trying to touch one end of the roller towards the floor, and then come back to the center. And touch the other end of the roller towards the floor. Tip your knees, let yourself press yourself into a little bit of rotation, and then come back to the center. And then rotate, reach the top arm. You can start to straighten that top leg if it feels good to you, and come back to the center. Let one end of the roller drop so that you can stretch yourself really long, extending that top leg out towards straight. And coming back, and you're just having kind of a playful feeling. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can explore where you feel tight in your body and where you need to move a little bit more to get things to open. And then come back to the center. So then, keeping a hold of the ends of the roller, reach the arms overhead only as far as you can keep your abdominal connection. Scoot your feet a little bit further away from your pelvis. And then legs are wider than sits bones distance apart. And I want you to bring the roller forward, lift one leg off like you're trying to bring your knee and your leg toward, knee and your roller towards each other. And then set the leg back down. And so we're in this wide position. So it should feel like you have to stabilize the pelvis as you start to lift the arms. You should feel a little bit of shoulder stability work happening in order to maintain your position. And as you do this a couple times, you're trying to meet the roller in the knee over the abdomen, not way in towards your face. So then if that feels good, you can add to this flexing up. You're trying to bring your torso further towards your leg, not your leg further towards your face. And you flex and lower. And again, because you're going back down to this wider position, it's a little less stable for the pelvis. You have to work a little bit more on preventing rotation. Flex up and lower down. and flex up and lower down. One more each way. And then lower all the way back down with your feet a little closer to each other. Now we're going to go into our roll up. So the roller is going to come forward. You're going to nod the chin. You're going to peel up. You're going to start to slide your feet out away from you. Put the roller down on your legs and push the roller towards your feet. Do a little pulse. It's not like a ballistic thing. It's just a little extra reach, reach, reach. Start to roll down. Slide your feet back in towards you as you round back down through the spine. Nice. And then the roller comes forward. You nod your chin. You push through your feet. You do your little reach. Reach. Two more. Reach. And reach. So there's 4 of them. Pull the feet back in towards you. Start to roll back down, articulating through your spine. Twice more like this. Arms come forward. Roll up. Flex the feet. And kind of working your socks off here. Reach, 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 and pulling in and rolling back down. One more time. Arms come forward, nod the chin, peel up through your spine, reaching out through the heels, little pulsing. 2, 3, and 4. And rolling all the way back down. Good, roll up one more time and stay up once you get there. So reaching out through the legs, flex the feet, and then stack up from tail to head. You can either keep your legs extended out like they are, or you can sit cross-legged for this. You have to be pretty comfortable sitting vertical here so that you're not kind of sitting back into your lower back. So most of the people are probably going to be more comfortable with the legs bent. Reach the arms out forward, squeeze into the ends of the foam roller. And then I want you to push the roller with one hand, do 3 little pulses to one side, 2, 3, and come back to the center. Feel how if you push more with one hand, you'll be able to emphasize the rotation a little bit more. Pushing and pulling, sit up really tall, try to lengthen through the spine. So you're not rounding back at all. And rotate, little pulse. 2, 3, and inhale, center, little pulse. Pulse, pulse, inhale, center, one more each way. Pulse, 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 and center. And last one. And center, reaching the arms forward. Pull the roller in to bend your elbows and lift your sternum a little bit, and then reach the arms back out in front of you. So you lift the sternum by pulling in, slightly pressing against the end of the roller. And then keep the push against the end of the roller with the arms straight. Lift the arms as far overhead as you can keep the shoulder alignment. Lower the arms towards your legs. Then shoulder height, pull in, lift the sternum, reach it forward, lift, and lower. Keep a little press into the end of the roller, pushing in as you pull, hands towards the chest, lift and lower. And again, open the front of the sternum, feel like you're connecting between the shoulder blades behind you, lift, lower, last one, pulling in, lift the sternum, lift the chest, reach out, lift, and lower. Then reach the legs forward, but bend the knees. Reach the arms forward. And I just want you to drop one end of the roller down towards the floor and then pick it back up. Drop towards one side of the floor and then pick it back up. And then I want you to take that into more of like a paddling. So you go down, up, and over. It's like a figure 8ing. Down, up, and over. Down, up, and over. And once that's going pretty well, we'll add this to our half roll back. So we're gonna round the pelvis under, roll back, down, up and over, down, up and over. And you can let the rib cage rotate. Let the ribs rotate. Good. And as you do that a few more times, trying to stay really centered. And coming back forward. And we're gonna do that once more. So rounding back again, drop one end, lift it way up and over. Drop the other end, lift way up and over. And around, and around. Obviously, move within a range you can control. And 4, 3, 2, and 1, and coming back up. We're gonna put the roller behind us. Bring the back of the bottom ribs down onto the roller. Once you've got the bottom ribs on the roller, it should feel like you can connect your ribs towards your hips without sinking into the lower back. You're shortening the abdominals. You're gonna reach one hand behind the head. The other arm is reaching forward. You're staying centered to start. It's harder if your legs are all the way together. So you're gonna start to lengthen back just to one long line. So not trying to go into extension, you're just trying to go to neutral. And then lift and bring the arm forward. If you want this to be harder, keep the arm above the head, kind of framing the head the whole time. So you go to neutral, slide ribs to hips, come forward. And you go to neutral, slide ribs towards hips and come forward. Then you lengthen to neutral, circle your arm out to the side towards your leg, bring it a little bit across and bring yourself into a slight rotation. Then center back off. You lengthen back to neutral, circle around, little rotation, flex. Yep. And reach overhead. It's all one motion. The arm circles around across the leg, little flexing up. And you lengthen back, circle the arm around, bring it across the outside of the leg, little flexing up. If you'd like to add to this, you could go into some extension, but it needs to be a supported extension. So you're not going so far that you're just popping the bottom ribs up and out. And lengthen, circle around, and flex across. And lengthen, circle around, and flex across. 2 more, lengthen, circle, and flex, little rotation. And last one, reach back, circle around, and little bit of rotation. Bring your hand behind your head. The other arm can come forward. You're still centered. Make sure the ribs and the hips are centered. Staying square, just going back into that long line to neutral, and slide ribs to hips to come up. And staying neutral, lengthening back, and slide ribs to hips to come up. And then we'll add our arm. So our arm goes overhead, circles around towards the legs, goes across the legs to the outside of the other side, little rotation, center off. Reaching back, lengthening the spine, circling the arm, flex into rotation. And a couple more, reaching back, circle around, flex, and lengthening back, circling around, flex across, and lengthen, circle around, flex up and across. And 3 more, circle around, flex up and across. And 2. And last one. And then coming back to the center, lengthening back, and you might need to move the roller down just a little bit if it's slid up at all, but lengthen to neutral. Once you're neutral, stay there and just try to rotate a little, like you're trying to bring one side of the rib cage down more into the roller, and then center. And like you're trying to lift one side and push down a little bit more into the other side, and center, and rotate, and center. Good, nice, Bobby. And rotate, center, and rotate, and rotate. One more each way. And then coming back. Bring the roller in towards you, and you're gonna put the roller underneath like the bottom rib area. It should be not uncomfortable. So you can prop your head up here. I kind of have it some halfway between my armpit and my bottom rib. Let's start by pointing and lifting the top leg up and flexing and lowering. So this starts to begin to challenge your ability to stay long through the waist and reach out and up, flex, reach out and down, reach out and up, and reach out and down. And as you do this a few times, feel how your abdominals have to work to keep from sinking over the foam roller. And because of the angle our torso is on, it's a little bit harder to lift the leg very high. So just go as far as you can really achieve your alignment. Nice. And one more time. And then you'll lift your leg up and circle the leg in the hip socket. 2, 3, trying to not let the ribs wiggle. 4, 5, and 6, reverse. 6, 5, keeping the knee straight. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower that leg down. Do a big stretch over the side. Pull on your top arm to help give you a little bit of traction. You can roll back a little. You could roll forward a little. However, you can feel that roller kind of massaging the side of the ribs, your lats. And then bring your top arm down your side. Push slightly down through the bottom arm to lift your upper body up. So if this feels good, you could lift your arm with you, or you could have your hand underneath your head. So you're rolling over the roller, and then you're lifting the opposite direction over the roller. So it's harder with the arm lengthened, little more support with the arm bent. If you have your arm bent, don't let your elbow touch the floor first. Think of it like the elbows pointed forward, like a big nose. Reaching out and up, reaching out and down, and add the top leg lifting from the outer hip as you lift and lengthening. Feel this top arm reaching towards your foot. It'll help get you up. Should feel the obliques on this top side working. Lifting and lowering and lifting and lowering. Last 2, and reaching out and up, reaching down and lifting up and lowering down. Do one more of those big stretches over the side. However it feels good, really tractioning that bottom arm out of the shoulder will help you stretch in there. And then you can sit yourself up and switch the roller over to the other side. Finding that place where you can support yourself on the ribs, on the roller, and then your hand under your head. Top leg is reaching out long. Connect your ribs, point and lift the top leg up, flex and lower. And as you do this a few times, making sure the ribs aren't kind of wanting to flare forward on you, that you keep really supported and lifted. And reaching out and up and out and down. Knee is pointed forward. Try not to let the knee turn up to the ceiling and the toes turn up to the ceiling. It makes it too easy to get out of the glute medius work, which we want, which is back in the back of the hip, and then the quads will just take over. Reach out and up and reach out and down and reach out and up. Nice. Trying to feel that little sense of connecting and lift underneath the waist. One more time. And then lift your leg up, point your knee and your toe down a little. 6, 5, glute medius, little circle. 4, 3, 2, and 1, reverse. 6, make sure you're working from the back of the hip, not letting it go into the quad. And then lower the leg down. Take a big stretch over the top side. Grab a hold of your elbow, kind of pull your arm into length. You can rock a little one way and the other way, however it feels good to you, kind of giving a little bit of massage on that lat area. And then bring your arm down your side. Use your abdominals to lift yourself up and then lengthen back down. You could also bring your hand under your head, lift and lower. And getting longer as you lift, trying to create more length out through the top of the head and out through the foot. Your arm could be extended out and lifting it off the floor. Lift the leg and lower everything. And everything lifts and everything lowers. 3 more. Lift and lower. Let's do 1 more for good measure. And then taking the arm overhead, grab your elbow, pull yourself into length. You can rotate a little. And then you're going to come off the foam roller and take the flex band and put it across your upper back behind you. And I want it up as high as you can get it and as flat as you can get it between the shoulder blades. So this is a little low on me, so I'm going to try to scooch it up so it's really right at the base of my shoulder blades. It doesn't need to be really heavy. You're just giving yourself a little bit of extra serratus anterior connecting. So once you've got that band there, then holding the ends of the band down with your hands, let your spine sink down a little bit between the shoulder blades, then feel that resistance of the band as you connect serratus anterior and push the floor away. And again, let yourself sink down a little bit between the shoulder blades and then push the floor away and connect around the shoulder girdle. Good. 2 more. You're going to go down and then press the floor away and lift yourself up and softening down and press the floor away and lift up. Now keep that connection between the shoulder blades. Try not to shift your weight forward. See if you can reach one leg out behind you, lift it up and lower it down a few times. So try not to let your weight shift forward. Stay level through the pelvis so you're not letting the pelvis get crooked. Pulling up on the low abs, trying to keep the connection to the outer hip. 3, 2, and last one. And then that leg comes in, the other leg slides out. You find your balance, you find that centeredness between the 2 sides. Lower the leg and lift the leg and keep connected through the abs. Lower and lift, lower, lift, getting longer through the spine. Lower, lift. Nice. 1 more time. And then bring your knees underneath you, kind of wide, and just do a little bit of a circle one way, and then circle the other direction. And then you can take the band off of your upper back and just put it on the floor near you and come back to that hands and knees position. Now you have a lot less forces pushing down on you or pulling you down. So now find that connection And keep it, slide the leg out. If you'd like to add your opposite arm, you can lift the arm and leg, tap down just to 4, lift, 3, getting longer, lift, 2, and last 1. Then bring that arm and leg back in, staying centered, reach the arm and leg out, lift, only lifting and lowering as you can, stay neutral, and only lifting the arm as high as you can, keep the shoulder alignment. Keep that knee really straight. It's gonna really wanna bend on you. Last one. And then bring your hand underneath you, sit back towards your heels, stretch back, take a couple breaths, just opening up your lower back. And then we're gonna do one more thing on the hands and knees. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Tuck your toes under. Imagine that band were still there pulling you down. You could do it with the band, it just gets a lot harder. So connect between the shoulder blades, neutral spine, hover the knees off the ground as low as possible. Take a breath, and then set the knees back down. So our leg pull front prep. You're trying to wrap the abdominals around your center, not change any of the curves of the spine as you hover the knees up and set them back down. 2 more. Connect the abs and then float the knees off the ground. Set the knees down and connect the abs. Float the knees off the ground. Stay a little longer if you can. And then set the knees down. Sit back towards your heels, step one arm across to the opposite side so you're stretching armpit and hand away from the hip. And then take the hands the other direction. And open the armpit area. And then coming back to the center. So then let's take the foam roller in the middle of your mat. And you're going to lay on your back on the roller. So this is a nice place to check in with everything daily, to try to connect everything and make sure you feel like you're centered. Reach your arms up towards the ceiling. You could do a million different things like arm circles and whatnot. Just start with a big arm circle just to make sure you feel balanced. And if your balance goes well, then we're in the right position. So then if you can, creep your feet and your legs a little closer together. If you can bring them all the way together, that's gonna be harder. And from there, open your arms out to the side, press your arms back up to the ceiling. Do this a couple times. If you wanted to make this harder, you could add a light weight, like 1 to 3 pounds, opening the arms, keeping the back of the shoulders connected as you press back up to the ceiling. Opening the arms and press back up to the ceiling one more time. And then open just one arm out to the side, press it back up to the ceiling. Then the other arm opens and you press back up. And now as you do this a couple times, try to find the connection in the back of your shoulder, feeling like you're moving from your connections into the shoulder girdle. You're not losing any of that shoulder alignment. And then as you go a little bit faster, it's going to be harder to stabilize through the torso. It's also going to be harder to keep the shoulder alignment, shoulder connection. If your legs are too wide, this will just feel easy. So if it feels easy, scooch them in a little closer together. Last one on each side, open, press up, and open, press up. Good. Lower your arms down, then imprint, and from your imprint, lift one leg up to tabletop, lift the other leg up to meet it. Squeeze your inner thighs together, testing out your balance. Bring one hand across to touch the opposite knee, long through the spine. Try not to let those ribs flare. And then the other hand comes across. Should be kind of effortless in that it's nice and balanced. The shape isn't too wobbly. If you go to lift one hand and you tip in that direction, then think of pulling down on the obliques on that opposite side before you move. So if I'm tipping to the right, pull down a little on the left side of the pelvis. And you can kind of, through your peripheral view, see your knees Make sure your knees look level with each other. If they're not level, then you know your pelvis is rotated. Finish up even on the other side, one more maybe. And then set one leg down, set the other leg down. Take your legs wide apart. Take your arms, hug your upper body. Give yourself a little rock from side to side between the shoulder blades, kind of massaging into any of those tight spots. And then bring your feet closer together. Bring your arms down. So your feet, I'd say sits bones distance apart or closer, not wider than that. Bring one hand behind your head. Point your elbow forward a little bit. Lengthen through the back of the neck and flex your upper body up and try to rotate towards that side without falling off the roller, so you're not letting your pelvis tip. So the upper body is rotating, the opposite side of the pelvis is staying really connected to keep everything from tipping over. You are using your fingertips on the floor a little bit. Soften the sternum, slide your ribs towards your hips to come up and across, and lengthen back down. And two more, up and across, and lengthen down. And last one. Either stay doing that version or add the leg to tabletop so you're flexing up towards the leg in the air. 4, 3, 2, and one last time. And then setting the head down, set the leg down, bring that arm down to the side, other hand comes behind the head. Start with 6, just flexing up and across, using a little gentle press into the fingertips to keep the whole thing from tipping over, and trying to feel that you're balanced in the center of your sacrum. You can kind of glance at your knees as you're coming up and down and make sure that those look level as well. Exhaling, ribs rotate across. Last 2. And last 1. Then the leg comes to tabletop, harder to balance. Exhale up and across towards the leg that's in the air. And center off. And exhale up and across. And exhale up and across. And finish up with this one. Set your leg down. Take your arms across your upper back and just rock a moment side to side. Get a little movement going in there again. And then you can come off the roller when you're done with that. And we're going to come on to the hands on the roller. Again, we're focusing on mobilizing the spine a little bit. So find neutral on this incline. Curl the pelvis under, so don't sit back and you're trying to not lift just your upper body. You're trying to move your pelvis. So the glutes and the hamstrings pull the back of the pelvis towards the back of the knees to start to pull the roller in towards you, and you can lift up a little bit towards your fingertips, and then from your tail to your head, you lengthen back out. Do that a couple times. So you round the pelvis under, you scoop the abs up, coming up onto the fingertips, and then the pelvis moves. So as you do this, I want you to pay attention to the movement of your pelvis. That's the most important part, like you're trying to move your pelvis towards vertical. I don't really care if you come up high. Scoop, it should feel like the abs are working, kind of pumping the lower back open. And one more time, curling through the spine, and then lengthen out, push the roller away from you. Sit so you're in your shell stretch, child's pose kind of position where you're laying on your thighs. Push your hands gently down into the foam roller. Curl the pelvis back so the front of the pelvis comes backwards, and it'll start to dome your lower back up off of the floor, and then lengthen back out. And you scoop the pelvis under It'll kind of round your lower back, and then you lengthen back out. 2 more. Round the lower back, scooping the belly button away from the thighs. You're not trying to lift off your heels. And lengthen back out. And 1 more time. Round the pelvis, scoop through the abdominals. And then lengthen back out to 1 long line. Nice. So from here, we're going to lay on the side, on your side. You can have your bottom arm underneath your head. Your top leg is going to come onto the roller, and move the roller down a little bit so there's room here for your hand. Lengthen through the top side of the pelvis and the waist. Bottom leg is really straight. Your hand can touch the floor when it needs to. Start with the arm reaching forward. So you're going to let the pelvis and the upper body reach forward. At some point, your hand will touch the floor, and you rotate your upper body towards the floor. And then from the pelvis, you start to drag yourself back, and you come back. You can either keep your hand touching the floor, or it can be lifted. And you slide your hand forward as you open the pelvis, and pelvis comes back, and you drag it back. And you slide the hand forward, your chest is turning towards the floor. If you can, whichever arm was on the bottom, sweep that arm out to a T, so both arms are reaching in opposite directions, and you're kind of looking towards the back arm. And then bring the arm overhead as you draw yourself back in. And then start to make that one smooth, continuous motion. So you're getting some circularity here to the movement. Sweeping open, and 1 more time. Sweeping the arms open and coming back. Okay, so then I want to just change what your arms are doing. Start the same way. So your arm reaches forward, but then I want you to pull that bottom arm underneath you so you come into a comfortable amount of extension through your spine, however far it feels good. And then the arm shoots back out overhead, and you come back to your side. And you press yourself up into your forearm in one hand, and you lengthen back to your side. And you press. We're just trying to get a little bit of extension through the upper back, and then you're getting this nice rolling through the inner thigh, which might not feel like a lot, but it's a good little amount of pressure to help the hips be balanced. And 1 more time, come up and stay there and just rock a little bit into the roller and back, into the roller and back. So it's like up on my upper adductor muscle, which I would say that's a little tight, maybe not the most pleasant feeling, but it shouldn't hurt. And then laying all the way back down. Good, we're gonna switch over to the other side. So you'll line yourself up kind of towards the back of your mat so you have plenty of room. And move the roller down a little lower, bottom arm and leg is straight. Start with your having enough space here for your hand. And then just start by rolling the pelvis forward and then draw the pelvis back to bring yourself back. As you do this a couple times, try to feel like you're rolling up towards your inner thigh. Gentle pressure down through the leg to bring you back. So you're allowed to use this top arm to help you, but you're not doing all the work from your top arm. You're still got to use those obliques to bring you back. So the pelvis rotates, shoulders rotate, then the pelvis pulls back, the shoulders pull back. And again, rotate and pull yourself back. And rotate. Pull it back. Good. And then you start to sweep that arm that's underneath you out from underneath you, so your arms go to a T, and then the arms sweep back to where they came from. And try to smooth that out so that you find a nice fluid kind of flow as much as that's possible. Sweeping out, looking towards the back hand, and coming back 1 more time. Sweeping open and coming back. And then from here, we're just going to change the arms. So you're going to start to rotate towards the floor. Drag that bottom arm underneath you. push the floor away, come into a little bit of extension, and then reach the arm overhead and come back. And again, rotate, drag yourself up into extension, lengthening through your spine. Yeah, that's it, nice. And then lengthening back. And as you pull that elbow underneath you, open across the front of the hips, you get this nice hip flexor psoas stretch, bonus psoas stretch. One more. Once you get there, stay there and just roll a little bit, rocking the pelvis a little bit one way and then the other so that you get a little bit more opening through those inner thigh muscles, however it feels good. Good-ish, I guess. And then coming back to reach the arm overhead and lay back on your side. And then you're gonna sit up from here. And you can ditch the roller for now and come to this kind of mermaid on the rocks position and push down. So try not to sink into that bottom shoulder. Feel like you're connecting into your lat to go into a little bit of a side bend. And so that's the initiation, is that the shoulder has to draw down to shorten the bottom side of the waist. And then you come up into this big side bend. And then you lower back down. And you shove yourself one way, go into a big stretch. If you like, you can rotate a little towards the floor, maybe a little towards the ceiling. One more time here. Connect the shoulder, big side stretch overhead. However it feels good to rotate a little. And lower back down and bring your legs to the other side. So your hand in line with your knees and pressing through your arm, connect into that bottom side of the shoulder, bottom side of the waist, big cashew shape, making sure that you're coming up in a curve, you're not straight. Side bend, going up and over. Once you're there, you can rotate a little to the ceiling or to the floor, whatever feels good to you. And one more time, big side bend, up and over, rotating, might even circle the arm, however it feels good to you. Big stretch over, and then setting your hips back down. Turn towards your mat. We've been working on planks, so you can either do shoulders over the wrists in a kneeling plank position, really scooping up on the low abs, or you could push yourself up into the full plank and hold for a moment, lengthening through the spine, feeling like you're pushing the floor away, and then set the knees back down. And again, you're trying to connect the glutes, really connect the abdominals to press yourself up into that plank. And then set it back down. Twice more. Getting longer, pushing through the back of the leg. Connect the glutes to come up. Find that serratus connection like we were doing with the flex band. One more time. Pressing your hips open, lifting yourself up, supporting your spine. And then setting your knees down. Sit back towards your heels. Take a couple breaths there. And stay there for a couple breaths. We were working today on trying to get more mobility through the spine, through the hips, the pelvis, opening up the thoracic spine, the upper back area, and then strengthening some of those deeper stabilizers around all of those areas.